What's going on, everybody? I'm Sean from Fitment Industries Garage, SeanB.fi on the Instagram, and today we're going to discuss not only how to adjust your coilovers, but how to adjust them the right way, as well as cover some of the common myths and mistakes. But before we jump headfirst into that, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and head over to fitmentindustries.com for all of your wheel, tire, and suspension needs. Let's get started. So here we have one of our most popular selling coilovers. This bad boy is the Fortune Auto 500 series coilover. It's Fortune Auto's entry-level coilover, but don't let the phrase entry-level fool you. These bad boys have an adjustable body so you can properly adjust your ride height and preload separately, as well as dampening adjustment. And if your application allows, you will even get a built-in camber plate. So first things first, let's go over preload, why you need it, and how you're doing it wrong. Now, 99.999% of the time, preload on a coilover is only used to make sure the spring doesn't unseat itself when you fully extend the suspension, and that is it. Cranking up your preload does not affect your spring rate with a linear rate spring.
Yeah, that's right, I said it.
The only thing cranking up your preload is going to do is reduce the amount of droop you will have. Now, eliminating droop reduces the area of where your spring actually works. And what that can do is make the body of your car compensate for the reduced amount of travel. And what I mean by that is, if you hit a 6-inch deep pothole with properly preloaded coilovers, you'll probably just feel the jolt of the carnage coming through the suspension, and you might bend a wheel. But then if you hit that same pothole with a high preload, the car's gonna dip and throw you around. I can see where people could confuse this for stiffness, but I assure you it's not. The Fortune Auto 500 series calls for a 1/4 inch of preload for McPherson strut configuration and an 1/8 inch preload for double wishbone. And what that means is when you have a 7-inch decompressed spring like this one, you're gonna wanna turn the spring perch up until that spring measures 6 3/4 of an inch. See how little that is? Stop overdoing your preload. If you bought a set of coilovers that adjusts height via preload, get rid of that trash and come see the experts at fitmentindustries.com. We'll get you set up with a proper suspension that can meet even the most strict of budgets. The next thing to look at is adjusting ride height. Now, adjusting ride height on proper coilovers is going to be controlled by threading the body into the mount. So to do this with the coilovers installed in the car is a little differently than you might simply assume by looking at this display model. What you actually want to do is loosen the locking collar on the body and thread it up the tube a little more than the desired height difference you'd like to see. So you're going to want to thread this guy up. And then you're gonna take your spanner wrench and you're gonna hook it on your preload collar here, and you're actually gonna turn the whole strut itself down into the internally threaded mount. This won't go anywhere, it's on a bearing, it'll just spin. Easy enough, right? Now, I prefer to measure from the spring perch collar down to the height adjustment collar to make sure the coilovers are adjusted to the same length side to side. And then you can compensate for your corner weight from there. Doing it that way can eliminate a lot of the confusion, and it's a great starting point. Outside of that, ride height is really up to your personal preference, so let's move on. Now let's talk about adjusting your dampening. Now here's where 500 series or more entry-level coilovers differ from your higher-end coilovers. Here, the dampening adjustment for compression and rebound is done at the same time. Most of the time, when these are adjusted separately, you're gonna see a remote reservoir. Anyway, essentially what you're doing here is adjusting the size of the holes in the compression rebound valve, which acts like a piston inside of the shock tube. Making the holes inside of this piston bigger will allow more fluid to travel through the holes more quickly, making for a softer ride. And then obviously making the holes smaller will flow less fluid and increase the stiffness of the dampening. This adjustment is also based on personal preference, and a little trick I like to do is put the settings right in the middle and adjust from there. To most accurately do that, turn the knob to all the way stiff. So you're gonna go all the way clockwise until it stops. Now, if the coilover has 32 clicks of adjustment, we can go 16 clicks counterclockwise from max stiff to ensure that we're right in the middle. And now you can drive the car and make adjustments to your liking from there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And last but certainly not least, if your application allows, you'll actually have camber plates built into the top hat of the coilover. This one is pretty straightforward as well. A little less obvious here, as when you need to adjust your ride height, you're gonna wanna remove your wheels to take some of the leveraged weight off the suspension. Once all of the load is taken off your suspension and it's at full droop, you can loosen the 4 Allen head cap screws on the camber plate, but do not remove them. Now you can move the strut in or out to achieve your desired camber angle. Keeping it even side to side is easy with the lines marked right here. Tighten the cap screws back down, torque on your wheels, and away you go.
Camber gang.
See, that wasn't too bad, was it? It's really almost too simple that it's easy to overthink, over-research, and confuse yourself. But that's gonna wrap it up for these bad boys. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see us cover next. I try to reply to every single one. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already so I can keep my dream job. And don't forget to see the experts at fitmentindustries.com for all of your wheel, tire, and suspension needs. I'm Sean from Fitment Industries Garage, SeanB.fi on the Instagrams. See you on the flip side. Peace. Instantgrams. See what I did there? I made a joke.